following program is from WNET 13.
Black Journal is an on-the-air magazine reporting on the personalities, ideas, and issues that affect Black America. It attempts to achieve balance by reporting from a Black perspective.
Black Journal's 5th season is highlighted in this new Black Journal magazine, featuring such articles as A Rap with Melvin Van Peebles, the phenomenal growth of Friends of Black Journal chapters, and a black paper on white racism. For your free souvenir copy, send your name and address and 50 cents in postage stamps. Do not send cash or checks. To Black Journal, Department M, 10 Columbus Circle, New York. Black Journal, 10 Columbus Circle, New York. This is the part one of a two-part series entitled Black Man, White Woman. Significantly, it was not entitled Black Woman, White Man because in the last 10 years, the statistics indicate that there is a significant increase in relationships between black men and white women and a significant decrease in relationships between black women and white men. With me to discuss this very volatile issue are two leading psychiatrists, Dr. Francis Welsing, a member of the psychiatric department of the Medical College at Howard University, and Dr. Alvin Poussant, a psychiatrist, a member of the Medical College at Harvard University, and author of the well-known book, Why Blacks Kill Blacks. To begin with you, Sister Welsing, why do you believe, basically, black men are becoming so significantly attracted to white women, or is it vice versa?
I'd like to turn it around. I think, first of all, that white women are seeking black men first. Black men some are attracted to white women. And I don't think that we can understand this phenomena unless we understand really what is the larger dynamic that is occurring, not only in this society, but in the world at large. And the way that I look at that phenomena is that, number one, we are living within the context of a system of white supremacy, which is my definition of racism. Racism is a worldwide system of white supremacy, domination, and control. And all of the behavior that we see all over the world, whether it's the behavior of the black woman, the white woman, the black man, or the white man, is occurring within the dynamics of this system. And we can understand what is happening as far as the white woman, black man relationship and why that is on the increase. I think if we understand the need for the system to remain intact.
But Francis, you don't think that the black man has a special attraction toward the white woman?
Oh, yes, he does. Yes, he does. Well, he has been programmed historically to feel that, first of all, this is the woman who is the woman in the world. And this is the thing that has been denied him, in terms of, let's say, male-female relations or sexual partners. The black man, at least in this area of the world, has been told historically, you cannot touch this woman. And so at that level of social dynamic programming, yes, the black man has always felt, well, this is the one thing that I have been denied in this society. And so many black men, I think, at one level, they are moving towards white women as white women move. White women are the major aggressors in this situation. But the black man is playing his role because he says, well, this is the thing that I've been denied. This is the thing that is going to be the great equalizer.
I think, though, that the need has sort of been exaggerated, because if we look at those statistics you just mentioned, actually in the past decade, even with the increase, there's only about 43,000 black man, white woman marriages. That's a very, very tiny percentage. That means about 2% of black men are married to white women. Now, if we had accepted the propaganda, that is the white propaganda, that all black men desire a white woman and they want to marry your daughter, you would expect the incidence of the marriages to really be increasing at a much greater rate.
I was going to ask, does it mean that that the fact that if we accept the fact that black men do feel that white women are preferable to black women, are we saying that their behavior in the context of standard behavior is normal or abnormal?
Well, I don't like to use those terms. I would prefer to understand the phenomenon. For example, if we start labeling behavior, like, for example, homosexuals don't like to be called pathological, for one thing. And I think that it is more useful if we say, well, let us try to understand the phenomenon of homosexuality, as opposed to saying, well, now that's sick, and then people get turned off and they don't spend time trying to understand the dynamic. In the same way, I don't want to look at the phenomena of, cross-color sexual mating or marriage or whatever. In terms of pathology, I would rather say, well, let's try to understand what actually is going on.
But you call the white woman the aggressor.
I say that she is aggressive because we live in the context of a white supremacy society in which white people are the dominant group. They are the people who control the power. We are the oppressed people. We are the people who are victims of that system. Just like, in terms of history, it was just a short 2 months ago in terms of the whole historical span, that black men were being lynched for looking at a picture of a white woman. Do you see? And now we are told, well, now everything is opened up. Well, I want to understand, well, why is it that everything is opened up? I think everything is opened up since black men started talking about black power. You see, when black men start talking about black power, then that says, well, all right, maybe there will be a challenge to the system of white supremacy domination, not only in this area of the world, but all over the world. So the white supremacy system says, all right, well, now what do we do to, get these people back in control? And what do we do to get them back in check? That is the black man. Well, we'll lay our ace trump card on them, which is a white woman.
In other words,
you see, which brings the black man then back within the context that the white supremacy system is going to work for you. See, we've denied you this, now you have it. But on close examination, in spite of all of the black-white marriages, the black-white sex that has occurred throughout history, in the last 500 years, there has been no serious tampering with the maintenance of white supremacy, certainly not through the bedroom activity. Do you see what I'm saying? But in other words, it throws people off balance.
So the white woman is still, I think, in a position of psychological dominance.
Right.
And insofar as she is, that's a form of white supremacy, and that the black men are frequently responding to her dominant position, the fact that she is considered a superior status object in society. But getting back to this point,
well, let me ask a question before you move to that. Then if we accept that, are we saying that the black men who marry white women are asking for dominance from a female?
No, the black men who are married by white women.
But the trend you continually...
No, I think that they are looking for status.
The black men are looking for status.
The black men are looking for status whether they are aware of it or not. In other words, as long as you have white supremacy domination any place in the world, whether it's Brazil, whether it's Hawaii, whether it's Japan, any place, you name it, that as long as the people of color are the people who are oppressed, then when a marriage occurs, in other words, the dominator says, I will pick you amongst the victims who I dominate to marry you, then the victim says, oh goody, this means I'm in.
Well, that's true, but if I can ask this question.
Okay.
It seems, the way you are framing your analysis, that the almost total blame, if we can use that word, for interracial marriages is because of, one, white society vis-a-vis white supremacy.
Seeking to maintain itself.
And two, white women being the aggressors. You seem to be saying, and I'm asking a question, that black men are just blameless and they're sort of like the victims of something that they have no control over, or that they have no need to be married to a white woman for some perhaps pathological basis.
No, let's say, for example, if you set up the conditions for the development of a sadomasochistic relationship, then the masochist as well as the sadist is a part of that relationship, and they are playing roles that they have been conditioned to play. In other words, a person who is a masochist seeks out the sadist because then they could play their sort of dual game,
Mutual reciprocity.
their mutual reciprocity together. Now, within the dynamic of the system of white supremacy, you have, for example, many of the white women who are with black and other non-white men are actually, I believe, having a dialogue with white men.
How does that work?
See, the dialogue goes like this according to my analysis. First of all, the white women, we have the women's liberation movement, which is a dynamic of white females. Okay, they are asking for liberation out from under the white male. All right, now within the dynamic of the white supremacy culture, you also have penis envy. In other words, the white men have been perceived as being dominant over the woman. And so the woman says, well, I wish I had a penis. Okay, so what does she do? She says, well, I'll go out and get one that's supposed to be more powerful than yours, but I'm going to control it. Because we are white and we control all of the non-whites. So she goes out and she selects, and all this is unconscious, you know, activity, if you will. She goes out and selects a non-white male, be he black or any other non-white. Then she is walking down the street, or they can go to the, you know, justice of the peace or the priest or be married. And anytime a white man sees that, she is communicating to him, see, I've got one because I am in control of this.
But I don't think we can, you know, generalize to that extent. I think that that's a theory. But it's getting back to the question when we present arguments that way, is whether the relationship between black men and white women are pathological. Now, Frances said she doesn't like to think of it in that framework, but the fact is that a lot of psychiatrists have presented or said that interracial relationships in marriage stem from a type of negative psychological position or some type of pathology because of the racism in society. They'll say that the racism distorts people's minds so that frequently you'll get, say, a white woman attracted to a black man for the wrong reasons or for racist reasons. She may see him as inferior, that might turn her on, or she might see him as a black stud, that may turn her on. All of these are racist perspectives. Or the black man can get attracted to the white woman because she's supposed to be superior, and he wants to be part of that whiteness. In other words, she's sort of anointing him or helping him to feel a sense of self-worth by his involvement
Well, I wouldn't
with
argue
her.
with any of that.
But
yeah.
at the same time, I think that
let's look
we
at it
can't
this way.
say that this happens with everyone, and even if it does happen, that this is pathological. That
Well,
let's
these
look
lots
at it
of
this
things
way.
motivate
Let's
people.
say, for example, white men and white women have many difficulties in terms of marriage, all right? I mean, there's a lot of alienation that is going on just within the white group itself, within the whole total context of the white supremacy system. Black men and black women have serious problems in terms of the marital relationship. Now, either we say that all of these people are sick because of, you know, various problems, or we can say, well, now let us look at the total behavioral phenomena that is occurring within a social system. Let's not bother to label it, but let's begin to understand what is happening. Do you see what I'm saying? Because there are many, many problems. I wouldn't want to say that I don't think it's useful. At one level, we can say, all right, these are pathological relationships, the problems that black men and black women have. Or we can say that the problems that white men and white women have are pathological. But
Or we
I don't
can say
think
the
that,
society is
see, because
pathological.
once you say pathological, then,
Which means sick.
Which means sick, then people who can be helped by understanding the dynamic, they're turned off because they don't want to be labeled as sick, but they may want to understand the
Well,
phenomenon.
for purposes of analysis, let us assume.
Like, let's say everybody who comes to a psychiatrist doesn't want to be labeled as sick. They say, I have a problem. I don't understand how I am relating to this other individual and the product that we have that I don't want. Let me help me understand it so I can straighten it out. And this is where I'm coming from. I don't want to create a big thing
At the same
about
time, though, I think we can recognize certain things that, I don't know if we want to call them sick, but that are distorted. For instance, I've seen black men married to white women, and essentially they hate other black people, that they have sort of joined the oppressor and are actively anti-black. And they'll
An expression of self-hatred.
Right.
That's
Yeah.
right. It's an
Yeah.
expression of self-hate for them to marry a white woman.
But now
On the
look,
other
I
hand,
have
I see
been-
some black men who are married to white women who remain militantly black.
Well, couldn't
or
that be
stay
a
involved
defense
with the
Which
black
is, but it is a
community.
contradiction.
But
still.
being militant, let's
Yeah.
deal with this. Some of our most revolutionary blacks have white women. Now, many blacks suspect, and it's an open secret, that their militance is simply a defense mechanism so that they can deal with their need for a white woman.
Well,
But look at it this way,
that might-
many of those
Yeah, go
so-called
ahead.
militants who are married to white women, I think it's because of the way that they have defined the problem for themselves. Many black people who a white person will say, well, that person is militant because the person happens to be saying black power. They are not really talking about the overthrow of white supremacy. They're talking about workers of the world unite, maybe. Do you see what I'm saying? But because they are black, they're saying, well, okay, I'm saying in terms of a
You're
whole
saying they're talking
humanistic
integration, in
struggle.
other words.
They
wanna
are
share
talking,
in the
right,
power.
you see what I'm
They
saying?
wanna
So
share
they
in the
don't,
power.
they
They're
don't
talking
perceive,
integration. I think
but they don't perceive a contradiction because the whole struggle of black people until, I would say until recently, has been defined as trying to get in to, we want to become a part of the society as though it is possible for people of color to become a part of the society. Now, some black behavioral scientists are saying, on the basis of having made an analysis that the system is one of white supremacy, in which none of the non-white people in the entire world, who happen to make up 9/10 of the total world population, none of the non-white people can actually integrate into the system of white supremacy because it is just that, maintaining white supremacy. Okay, so now within that context, then some black people are rethinking the position in terms of now, if I am talking about the overthrow of white supremacy as a system worldwide, then what does it mean for me to not only marry, but for me to have sexual relationships with a person who, whether they are willing or not, are participating in the maintenance of white supremacy. And some of us are taking the position that if a white person really says that they like a black person or a non-white person, then they will abstain from sex and they will abstain from marriage because they perceive also their position within the white supremacy context is as long as we have a system of white supremacy, then white people, when they relate to non-white people, are relating at a level of unequals.
But you're
And
saying-
until it's equalized, then something else is happening. Do you see what I'm saying? In other words, the non-white person who is in bed with a white person, thinking that they are bringing about a humanistic union, are really bringing about their further subjugation because they are thinking
black
in
person
the
is.
act of
Yeah.
sex
Yeah, but-
that now we are one and now we are equal. And so when you find that those people who are in bed with white people, when they get out, like you said, they are negative, and you can make a diagnosis. If you see a black person being very, very negative when they are, you know,
With other black-
with
Are
other
you
black
saying
people.
this is in all cases? I mean,
Not
you're
in-
sort of
no, I
making a
wanna say
political,
all. I
okay,
don't
but you're sort of
wanna
making
say
a political
all and
statement.
everything.
But you
saying
have to
that-
agree.
I'm saying that the
yeah.
act of sex is a political act.
Yeah.
Do you see? Just like
When
every
it's
other
between
act.
people of blacks and whites.
Every act is a political act because when people relate, they are always relating on the basis of power. Do you see what I'm saying? Whether they are aware of that or not, you can never get away from that. And so even when people of different colors are relating, the question of power is brought into play. For example, the French, in terms of maintaining colonial domination in Africa, Honor Toynbee has written about this, that they made it a policy, if the black man, you send him to the, the African who's in the colony, you give him a high school education and send him on to the university in Paris. He comes back and he says, all right, now I'm a Frenchman and I want to be free. I'm educated. I know as much as the colonizer. I want to be free. That you can cool him out by giving him a white woman. Do you see what I'm saying? And we see certain phenomena going on in the society today where black men who are married to white women are being given positions that black men who are not married to white women are not being given. Why? Because the white system perceives that that is a safe individual. Why? Because it is not only compromised in bed, but he is psychologically compromised. I mean, anytime you get in bed with somebody, sex is a very profound human act. And it has extreme psychological implications that spread into your, what do you do in the area of economics? What do you do in the area of
Why do we assume,
entertainment?
though, that if a black man goes to bed with a white woman, he has to be assuming that she's superior, or he has to
He
feel
doesn't
that?
have to. She is superior.
Yeah, but suppose in his relationship with her, does he have to feel that he's
she
coming
is
from the
still
inferior
superior.
position? What about
She can take him anytime that she wants.
What
Do you see
about
I'm
just the
saying?
biology
If
of
she
it?
gets angry with
What about the
him,
biology of it? That is, that he's involved in a sexual union that doesn't have political dimensions or
it
meaning,
does have political
even to him
dimensions.
psychologically. Well,
Well,
that's,
if I'm saying what
Yeah.
Dr. Welsing is saying, maybe she's saying that that's not conscious,
Yeah,
but the
I-
dynamic cannot be eliminated on a logical basis. I mean, on a conscious basis, you can't say that unconsciously my behavior is not determined by something that
Right,
I'm
see,
not
we're
aware
not
of.
aware
Okay,
of it.
but
Like a lot of people say,
You're
well, this is
assuming that
love. Yeah.
all black men then got this feeling of inferiority in them.
All non-white people feel
Okay,
inferior.
black folks.
See what I'm saying? All non-white people who are within the system and the dynamic and the power of the system of white supremacy, until they consciously work and struggle with themselves, and even then, are going to feel inferior because functionally we are inferior. Let's say you're a professor at Harvard, I'm a professor at Howard. Physician, psychiatrist. I take the position that we are functional inferiors. In spite of that, even compared to the white person who has a grade school graduate degree. Why? Because within the political power system, they have more power to control what happens to their lives than you and I have to control in what happens to ours.
What about the fact that a lot of black men say that they are going with white women and so on because they're trying to get back at the system, or they're trying to get revenge, or this is really a hostile act, and it doesn't, in fact, that they see it as a confrontation with the white system, and not as something that they're succumbing to as an inferior person, that they're asserting, in a sense, their manhood, or saying they just have as much right to have a choice about the women that they want that white men used to have and still have. The white men can have white women, and they can have black women, they can have anybody they want, but black men were confined to black women, and they couldn't even have her when they wanted her.
Let's say this. Some black men say they're superfly. Some say they're shaft. Some say that they're super nigger and that they have power that they don't have. That's a fantasy. You see what I'm saying? We can say a lot of things. I can say, for example, I'm a psychiatrist and I'm free. Does that make it a case? No, it doesn't. The proof of what is it that I can do for myself? Can I protect my children? Can I protect anything that I call mine? The ultimate answer to that is no. So that we can say a lot of things. Black men can think that they're doing a lot of things. It was not black men who said that white women could come now into the black community and start picking up whatever black man they want. The black man didn't have anything to do with that. And if the white supremacy system tomorrow morning wants to turn it around and say all white women come home because it's essential to maintain white supremacy, all white women will go home.
But don't you think, Francis, that psychologically, if white women have been forbidden to black men by oppression, if the black man has access to the white woman, that will make him feel more psychologically free.
It will fool them more. Let's say, for example, if you tell me,
He said psychologically free.
well, that's not, well, wait a minute.
He didn't say functionally free.
No, it's a fantasy, and then it's a psychosis. Do
that
you see
right?
that?
What
Right.
do you
In
mean
other
by
words, if you
psychosis?
are operating, just like they tell us in psychiatry.
That means a loss of contact
if
with
you
reality.
are functioning, if you are functioning on something that is not reality, then you've had it.
Well,
Okay? Now, but this is something that the white supremacy system understands. You see what I'm saying? They understand. Well, now we programmed these victims to feel that if they get a white woman, they will have it. Like a black cat told me who was graduating from graduate school at Harvard, that marrying a white woman was a part of the Harvard degree. In other words, I'm really in. Do you see what I'm saying?
Part of
All right.
ascending upward in.
All right.
in the
Now,
In
the
his mind.
system has
Okay, in his
programmed us
mind,
to think that. Just like it programs a black woman to say, all right, if you have a white man, that really means that you are in. Nonsense. Do you see what I'm saying? Because white supremacy is going on. And white supremacy will go on and victimize your children and your offspring irrespective of what you were doing in your bedroom
That's
activity.
true.
And the white supremacy system further would like the non-white and the black man to think that his phallus, or his penis, if you will, is equal to an M16 rifle, which is what he maintains power with.
But Francis, you don't think it's possible for a white woman and a black man to be involved in a relationship as individuals without all of this stuff?
No more than it is for a black man and a black woman to think that they have
You're
got.
saying all these things
We
are always
don't
going
know.
on.
In other words, when the black man and the black woman decided they are in love, you know, all those feelings that we call
Yeah.
love. What we call love is just that historic programming, you know, what parent we were tied to and whatever dynamic was going on, and then we go and pick somebody who turns on those same feelings. And we call those feelings love. But that doesn't, just because we call it love and then glorify it, doesn't mean that we cannot understand how those feelings got programmed in that way. And so a black man and a black woman, particular people who've had particular experiences, meet on a sunny day and they say, we are in love. and we want to go off and get married, as though white supremacy as a major dynamic in the world has disappeared. Oh no.
But we don't have proof that most black men are programmed that way.
Do we have 9/10 of the people in the world controlled by white
That's
supremacy?
good, but we don't have proof
Well, wait
that
a
the
minute.
black
What does
man
that mean?
is programmed.
What does that mean?
That is, we don't have the statistics to validate black men all wanting to rush after white women.
Wait a minute. Look at. Let's be honest. If we look at what is the dynamic that goes on in the so-called black community or more amongst black people, what is still, in the quiet recesses of our thinking, what is considered as beautiful? Still light skin and still straight hair. Well, what does that mean? See, that just means that the black mother who trained her son, I have a friend who says that his mother programmed him down in Oklahoma, just looking out the front porch. To the black girl who was light skinned, straight hair, there's a beautiful girl. To the black skinned girl with the kinky hair, she wouldn't say anything. Do you see what I'm saying? So that kind of programming, this is what I'm saying, that all of this goes
Gets involved in love.
All of this is involved in love. Who is a suitable choice? What kind of woman does a professional man marry? You see, you can just survey. All we have to do is look at the phenomena of the social laboratory.
Yeah, that's true.
And say, well, who are the people that particular people pick to marry? And we can understand that the dynamic of white supremacy is intact even when a black man and black woman are in bed. I've talked to black men who said when they're in bed with black women, they're thinking about Doris Day.
Oh, really?
I mean, well,
But Dr. Busan, you must admit that there are some black
this is
men
nothing to be ashamed of. We have got to stop being
who
ashamed
exclusively
of
don't
truth.
like any female who is not white. Now, I'm sure that you would have to have one constant, wouldn't you?
Yeah,
If a man who is black doesn't even look at a black woman and looks at nothing but white women, and then isn't that significant? I mean, wouldn't that be significant enough to be a non-generalization?
That's significant, but see, I don't know if we can relate it all as clearly to sort of political, the white supremacy.
See, but
For instance, let me take it down to a personal level. Suppose something is operating like the black man and his relationship to his black mother or to his black father, where he develops blocks against black women, and then he generalizes it all to other black women, and then he gets involved with a white woman. Now, that doesn't mean that he's necessarily indulging in any form of white supremacy necessarily.
He's not
That is,
indulging in white supremacy.
you can't assume that
He's
his
indulging in
rejection of his black mother is because she's black. He may be rejecting her for all sorts of other psychological reasons.
Let's go down and look at that. Let us look
and
at
that the white woman happens to be
But wait a
there
minute.
where he
See,
can
but this
displace that on.
is very common phenomena amongst our people.
May I interrupt you? We're going to continue this next week, and we don't want to lose it. Next week, we're going to continue part 2 of Black Man, White Woman, and a couple of things we're going to discuss with our same panelists will be why so many prominent blacks marry white men and why so many prominent black females in particular marry white men.